Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at a Tattooine Diorama build. We're going to be talking about some of the things that went through my head when I was coming up with the idea to embark on this project. Some of the things that you can do to recreate either this project or a similar type of project, the techniques, methods, materials, that sort of thing. And also kind of what goes into the process and all of that. So subscribe if you're new here and you don't want to miss content like this. Like this video if you enjoy it, and let's jump into it. So first of all, we have a Tattooine diorama with many pieces, as I'm sure you can see. So basically what we have here is a base plate. We have a wall here, a removable door, a weathered version of that removable door. We have a kind of ruined segment, a piece here that is the equivalent of kind of, if you're tying up an animal like a dewback. And then we have this piece here that is kind of like either, a trough for food and water for a dewback or something like that, or it could be the kind of thing that we have here, kind of, holding things, a container, for a market trader or something. We have some other bits here, some little glass jars with cork tops, and they're craft jars, and we'll get into that and how they tie into being kind of market props. A little glass jar here with some green liquid in it and then we have some piping that has been spray painted and weathered, and we'll talk about kind of some of the things that you can do to either make these things, or what's going through my head from a photography standpoint, with the design of this and some of these things, and how you can use them, and how some of these things seem insignificant, and then once you put them in your toy photography scenes, you'll just increase the dynamic nature of your scenes, just with these little props and little details. Also we have a little canopy here, and it's kind of like a canopy marquee kind of tent, the kind of thing that you can imagine from the prequels, around Wado's shop and those markets and that sort of thing. And we're going to talk about how we can go about making this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking about some of the steps. I'm going to go through the individual pieces, some of the processes, and I'm also going to try and get the camera in close and kind of talk about some of the things with more detail, to try and really help you see what I'm talking about and where I'm coming from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this video into sections and make it nice and easy for you, and then you'll be able to follow this process step by step. Okay, so let's jump into it. We're going to start with some of the pieces that are smaller and removable, and kind of talk through them, and we'll move on to the bigger pieces towards the end. So what we've got here is kind of the simple kind of blast door from Tattooine design. I've got it in brown on one side and orange on the other. If you've watched the movies, like New Hope and The Mandalorian, that sort of thing as well in the TV series, you'll see that this is the kind of design we have. This most notably you'd probably remember from A New Hope, when Chewbacca and Han are just trying to help Obi-Wan and Luke, and the gang get on board and take off. And you can kind of see the stormtroopers turning up just a little bit too late, and these are the doors they're coming through. These are all made by hand, DIY myself, and they're nice and easy to make, but yeah, they look awesome, and they really add to a scene, because the tan kind of sandy wash of the walls is cool and it's great, but just having these things in the doorways and things like that can really elevate your diorama. Now what this is actually just the black pieces here are just framing pieces for if you've ever been in a school and they have like a display on the wall or something like that. These are like the borders. I don't know if you can quite see, but like the kind of corrugated cardboard rolls, and you get them on rolls, and this is just black. And then, although it was flat on one side and a moving pattern on the other, I trimmed it to size so that it was flat, and then it kept that kind of corrugated doorway look that you see here, and it was black, but I did paint it black again to try and give it a little bit more of a deeper colour. Obviously it's got a little bit scratched up now, and it needs touching up a bit, but it still works great. And to be honest, you can do some editing in post in Photoshop and things like that when you do your photography, if ever it is showing through. Now all this is just cheap, simple things from the craft store. What it is in between is a piece of foam board cut to this rectangle shape, and I had a sanding block, and I sanded the corners so they rounded rather than coming to a complete just 90-degree turn. And then what I did was I got the border cardboard roll, and I cut it to size, and I rolled it round like this with the foam board piece in the middle directly so that it could be two-sided. And then what I did was I hot glued that on there, and then what we've got on both sides is again cut to shape. This is just foam, kind of foam that you can buy in a craft store if if you're in the US, Walmart as well, and things like that. If you're in the UK, you can get it from Hobbycraft and things like that. And basically it's just, you get this in A4 sizes, in normally where you would buy the paper or card in all different colors. This is just or felt. This is just foam, and it's brown, and I got a couple of sheets, and then orange, which I got a couple of sheets of as well, and then I just looked at the reference images and cut the shapes as and when they needed to be placed in what shapes, and then I hot glued them. And then this door I weathered with some black wash to make it look dirty and old, and as you can see, it looks great. And to be honest, if I could have gone in with like an airbrush or something, would have been more detail and more easy to control, because the thing is, the foam will absorb the paint to a degree, so you've got to kind of go in there with a different technique than you normally would for weathering. You can't just wash it on and pull it off. You've got to be aware that what you wash on is gonna linger to a degree, but as I'm sure you can see there, pretty good results, and I'm really happy with it. So it's nice and simple. Again, it's the same for this piece down here. This is just the same, cut to the same shape as this one, and then basically the difference is that this one isn't weathered. And basically what I did was I used the measurements of this opening in this piece I made to measure this piece here, and it's the same process for that one, obviously just not weathered, as I mentioned. Now moving on to some other pieces. So we have this piece here. This is just again a piece of polystyrene block glued on another block, and then some plaster was put on here, as you can see, and painted with that kind of tan sandy colour. Now you can choose whatever tan sandy colour you want to go with. There isn't any one way to do it or any one shade. It's completely completely down to you. And then this is just a piece of scrap metal rod with a chain hanging out that I found in a scrap heap. You can find this sort of stuff in recycling bins, or just lying around. It's the discarded things of some can be a treasure for others. So this was definitely turned into a piece of treasure. And basically what I did was had a piece of polystyrene, trimmed off pieces to make it less blocky and kind of have it look like it's ruined and chipped, and over the years that it's kind of broken off. And then in the top, just before I plastered it, pushed a hole down into the polystyrene big enough for this piece here, and then stuck it hanging out the top. And as you can see, it makes like a kind of a good kind of hitching post for, you know, a dewback or something like that. So that's a really easy one again. And then what we have here is the kind of water trough slash, you know, kind of market container that I mentioned. And again, it's just pieces of polystyrene plastered over and painted, and it's kind of in this trough shape, so it's kind of a rectangle with the top kind of carved into, you know, as you can kind of see here. And again, try not to make it look completely flat or completely symmetrical. You want it to look like ruins. Yeah, and like as you can see, obviously if this is on the Tattooine Diorama, it just makes it a little bit more, you know, more dynamic in terms of you can have more interesting displays, or if you've got some toy photography ideas, you can have, you know, a do-back by that, edit some water in there, or, you know, you can do all sorts of it. One of the things I'll say about this is, you know, as we'll see moving forward, and I'll show you here, is this is polystyrene. This isn't, you know, EVA foam or foam board. You can do this with EVA foam, and a lot of people do their diorama builds, especially the Tattooine type of builds, with EVA foam. As I've mentioned before, it's just more difficult to get your hands on in the UK. Basically, this is and again, cheap and easy, easy to pick up. This is recycled from when a washing machine was delivered. There was lots of polystyrene pieces encasing it, and I just asked if I could make better use of it, and my local manufacturer, you know, local business, just said, yeah, sure, take some. So what I did was I did take that, and a lot of these shapes that you'll find with polystyrene from things like washing machine casing and stuff like that when it gets delivered, is that a lot of these shapes are kind of already integrated into it. They're not just completely flat polystyrene pieces, so it works really well in terms of helping you with these diorama builds for Tatooine, because a lot of the pieces are very kind of Tatooine building-esque, you know, in their angles and their little kind of openings and little kind of imperfections and rises. You know, it's quite 3D. It's not just flat like foam board or EVA foam, where you'd have to cut multiple pieces and stack it up. So yeah, like I said, just polystyrene, cut and glued, plastered, and then painted. And it's the same process throughout on all of these polystyrene pieces, just obviously different shapes and sizes. And obviously this, like I said, this is like a ruins piece. It's a good way of kind of splitting up, you know, to make alleyways, and you can do it any way you like, but this is kind of the way I'm thinking. And again, like I said, the polystyrene pieces did kind of help to naturally make this kind of come together, because I saw the shapes and I saw what worked together, and I kind of utilised that. But as you can see, nice and simple, but very cool, very effective. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about some of the little props you can acquire to kind of make your diorama piece just that little bit better. So what we have here, if you can imagine, like I was kind of thinking, if you can imagine, you know, if you're on a planet like Tatooine, there's going to be market trading, and, you know, there's going to be goods. And in the Star Wars universe, you know, they aren't trading, you know, Coca-Cola or anything like that. They're doing things like robes and food and drink, and, you know, that sort of thing. So like these are just rolls of felt. If I can get this in focus for you, just rolls of felt, rolled into kind of like sleeping bag or like blanket looking things, tied with a little bit of string there. And as you can kind of see, if I can get it in focus for you again properly this time, the kind of you know, the sandy coloured string as well works really well. And you can do this with all sorts of colours. You know, you can do it with browns and all that sort of stuff. I just had some white, and I was going to go through and just wash them with a kind of brown wash to make them seem kind of sandy or dirty, come in with some sandier colours as well. But this was just a kind of easy one to show you that you would just buy a felt, you know, piece of or any kind of fabric you want really. Felt is just nice and cheap, and then just get some string or twine and come in and just tie them like this, like I have. So that's a nice and easy one. And as I said, you can do it with all sorts of things, and you know, don't limit yourself to the things I show you here. Just use them as a way of thinking of more ideas. These are really good as well if you go to craft stores, like in the UK. If you go to the Works or Hobbycraft, you'll have these little craft jars, and they're just little glass jars. And normally you could put little, you know, for crafts you put little messages in them or glitter or something, but for the purpose of this, I looked at that and I thought you could put some funky, you know, liquid in there, or goo or something like that, or some, you know, little pieces of things that make it look like it's food, or, you know, medicine, or just some alien kind of thing. And obviously just glass, you know, little glass mason looking jars with a cork top. Very transferable, and you can use them in other dioramas that aren't just, you know, Star Wars based, so that's a good one. And these are just bigger versions of it, and as you can see, again, just little glass jars with some cork tops, and again, they're very, very cheap. You can pick them up for next to nothing because they're just crafting materials. If you want to go down that route but not really thinking of buying something, or it's harder for you to come by something, you can do the same sort of thing that I have here, which is kind of what I'm going for with that kind of idea. Is, you know, a recycled jar. Like this was a spice jar, and you might see here, like, I've weathered the outside and the top, taken all the labels off to make it look like it's a, you know, a weathered real Star Wars kind of container of green liquid. What I did there was just a couple of splashes of food coloring with some water, and, you know, this could be anything. This could be fuel for some, you know, some sort of thing, or you know, food, drink, all sorts of things. You can be so inventive with something as simple as that, and it can really elevate your toy photography, especially, you know, like with the Grogu jar of the eggs. You know, you could do something like that really easily with something like this. And then again, little things like this kind of small rake. This was part of a little small Japanese garden gift that was being discarded, and I thought, you know, that would look good with like a jar or something. So, you know, keep your eye out for things that could be useful to you that would just otherwise be trash to someone else. And like I said, whenever you've got you know, a little container that you think could work, like this has just been, you know, weathered and dirtied a little bit, and this could be again, you know, something for a market, or, you know, holding Grogu's lunch in maybe. So, you know, you've got multiple things, like if you've got the robes and things like that from characters, or similar kind of garments, soft goods, you can have those as kind of, you know, being traded in a shot, or, you know, being given to a character or something like that. And then kind of moving forward, we'll move on to these bigger pieces now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these props and smaller pieces out of the way, and then what we'll do is we'll talk about some of the process, the kind of major process that goes into the bulk of building this, with the walls and the base plate, and then we'll kind of wrap up with some final thoughts. Okay, so with these bigger pieces, basically, as I mentioned, all of these pieces are just polystyrene, but you can do this with EVA foam if you have good access to it. And to be honest, EVA foam is the preferable material, but this is cheaper. You know, it's more than likely free. You can get it recycled. It's very easy to work with, and like I say, no matter who you are, you can probably get your hands on this. So that's why I thought it was a good thing to go with. You know, one of the things I like about diorama building is, to a degree, you can do it at your liberty with whatever you want, and especially like in the US, you know, you've got you guys have got a lot more sort of materials and resources available to you with, you know, things like this. So I wanted to be able to do something that you know, could be done by anyone, no matter of your location. Especially if you're in the sticks, where there's not many, you know, out in the sticks where there's not many shops to go to, and, you know, if you're kind of having to shop online, which obviously in the UK we have to do a lot of online shopping. Like a lot of my figures I can't get in hand anywhere, I have to get online. So I wanted to make something that wouldn't be an elitist project that only certain people could carry on with. So what we'll do is we'll split this piece up and we'll kind of talk about what goes into it. It's nice and simple. I'm just going to put that there for now. So this is just a wall piece, and like I said, it's polystyrene, as you can see on the back, just cut up in a particular fashion, hot glued together. And then what it is it's a plaster mix, and this is just to your typical plaster that you would use for DIY on your house or construction. If you're trying to plaster over cracks in a wall and then paint them and stuff like that. It's the same plaster, so there's normally a mix of 1 part or 2 parts plaster kind of mixed to water, and then you mix it. And then essentially what I did with mine, you can come in with a a spade or something, or like with me I just got a thick old brush and pulled it on, because then I could get in and create some texture. And basically that's what we have here, is just you can see where I've recently broke a piece off, but that needs fixing. You can see where just I've created some texture, putting the plaster on, and I did a couple of coats, and because the plaster was cheap, so why not use it all as well. But you can always go easy on it if you want, just put a smaller layer on. And then I came in and I painted it. And one of the good things about this sandy paint is cream and tan sandy paints are really cheap and easy to come by, because most homes use them, so they're nice and cheap. What I would suggest is, if you aren't looking to get a big pot of paint that is not going to be used, do what I kind of did, is you can get these small tester paints that are smaller, or like the just the small pots of tester paint, and once if you buy a couple of those, it's half the price, or even less than that of a bigger one, and you can still do your project more than enough. And you can kind of as well, you can get some different colors and kind of mix them together to get lighter, darker, or rather than just getting a huge gallon of one colored paint. So I would recommend that. In the UK you can get it from things like B&Q, places like B&Q, Homebase, that sort of thing. In the US, also, although you can get it at places like Walmart, Target, or anything like that, you would probably go to your Home Depots, your Lowe's, that sort of stuff, just because it is a kind of DIY material. But like I said, it's nice and simple, and that is the same process for this back piece. And what I did with the base plate was, it was just a big flat piece of polystyrene that again was going to go to waste, so I did that too. And what we have here is another wall piece, and now this is the same process as I've said. I cut out some blocks, because you see these kind of pillars in Tattooine, and then this is just a piece that I made to kind of go on top of as an awning, but it is removable. You just stick a couple of cocktail sticks in there. So what we'll do is we'll move that for now, and then we'll talk about that in just a second. But basically same thing again, is it's just cut your shapes, stick and glue them on with hot glue where you need to, and then get in there with the plaster and really get some great coverage, get in all the nooks and crannies, build up some layers, and create some great texture. Because obviously this is Tatooine, it's a desert planet, it's an old planet where the buildings are kind of like ruins. Now you can go for the smoother approach if you'd like, and kind of go in with the airbrush if you've got those those available to you, and do some really detailed builds. And if you do one that doesn't have such texture on it, then you can kind of use that as a more internal looking wall as well, for doing things like Jabba's palace and that sort of thing. But with the texture, what I was going for was getting that coverage and then creating some texture by going in and dabbing with the paintbrush, and creating these kind of raised pieces. So that's nice and simple. The same process has been done on this base plate. Basically what I did was choose a lighter colour of paint to go in over, but I had a little bit of plaster left, so I just washed over on this piece. And as you can kind of see, it's the same kind of thing, but what I'm trying to do is make it a lot more random. Like this was a sand, sand floor, and I've got, a box of sand. You can buy craft sand or construction sand, and I use that for my photography, but I thought this would be a good plate, as a big base plate to put all these big pieces on it. And basically I just measured a plate that was long enough to take both this placed on that side and this placed on that side. And as you can see, it creates this nice big old display, so you can use it for display purposes if you want. You can just cut it to size, or if you're looking to make something for an exhibition or a project for anything creative like a competition or something, you can go ahead and do that too. So what we're going to do is just, last but not least, talk about this piece here. Now this is just brown felt, but you can buy things like canvas, any kind of material you like. If you want to get an old shirt or something, that's fine. This is just a piece of plastic piping that I painted brown, and I did the brush strokes long ways to kind of create that wooden grain look. I don't know if you can kind of see the kind of grain look I was going for. Then basically just puncturing a few holes in the two felt pieces that I glued together to tie it to the big wooden looking bar at the front. And now all you would do as well is to kind of prop this up is two long kind of barbecue skewers. Again, you can get these really cheap at a craft store or even a supermarket. And basically what you end up having is if you get some cocktail sticks, you have a nice awning. And the good thing about it is it falls very naturally. It can be adjusted. You can stab it into this base plate because it's polystyrene if you want to go that way. But also because of the way you attach it, if you can kind of see me putting it in here, you put the cocktail sticks down in the top, and you can either have the skewers at an angle like this so that it kind of droops out like this. You can have them out further like this if you want to. You can have it back as if it's been put away, but you can have it off completely if you want to as well. It's not you're not fixed in. You don't have to use it. It's interchangeable, and I like that with my diorama pieces. I like to have that changeability. So that's versatility is that's key for me, and that versatility you get with this. But obviously, looks great like that, and you can kind of do some shots. But that's the Tattooine diorama piece, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was informative. I'm going to be doing all sorts of projects moving forward, plenty more action figure reviews, diorama builds, other creative projects, so do subscribe so you don't miss that content, and do leave a like on this video if you're enjoying the content as well, and let me know. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I'm gonna leave you with that. Take care, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.